Well, friends, we have a really big one happening right now. We just have reports coming in now that a major policy decision, a secretive policy decision, has been issued by the Trump administration. We're seeing confirmations from New York Times and ABC News. I know they're not very trustworthy organizations. They don't usually break news that's actually legitimate, but we're also getting Reuters in here too, and they're a lot better. Let's just say that. But apparently, we're also getting confirmations out of the Mexican government that at the highest levels that they were made aware of this by the U.S. government, and that they are very unhappy about this. What is this directive? It is a directive to the Pentagon, to the United States military to start targeting foreign cartels with use of military force. Instead of going after the terrorists in caves in Asia, we're going to start going after the cartels with military power here in the Americas. And some countries, especially Mexico, are really not happy about it. This is going to change things in a very big way, friends, and could change the very scope of what we're experiencing over here in the United States, as well as the Western Hemisphere. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And while the mainstream media is reporting on this, they're not talking about the real fallout of what's going to happen next. All right. President Sheinbaum of Mexico, her father a card-carrying communist, and you can see where that one's going. She doesn't really get along with President Trump very well. Her being a Marxist and a supreme leftist and all that does not really get along with President Trump. She's already really, really upset about the hundreds of thousands of people that have been coming back to her country because they've been getting pushed out by President Trump's new policies. She hates the border wall. Just one thing after the next, she's very, very unhappy. Now, she's president of Mexico, and the Mexican government controls about 65 to 70% of Mexico. Let that sink in. Her government controls about 65 to 70% of her country. That is not me making up numbers. That's not some random person in their bedroom, typing on the computer. That's the United States NORTHCOM, or Northern Command. That controls basically North America. And so the U.S. military, you got CENTCOM, which covers like Middle East and such. NORTHCOM covers the United States and North America. And NORTHCOM, the U.S. military district, says that Mexican government controls about 65 to 70% of the country. The rest of the country is either controlled by cartels or is so contested by cartels that the Mexican government can't effectively govern those areas. And this is the president who tells the United States that any U.S. troops crossing into Mexico to fight these cartels would be a red line, would be absolutely unacceptable. Let's put it here into her own words. Basically, I have that here somewhere. The United States is not going to come to Mexico with the military. We cooperate, we collaborate, but there is not going to be an invasion. That is ruled out, absolutely ruled out, Sheinbaum said. It's not part of any agreement, far from it. When it has been brought up, we have always said no. Well, all due respect to the sort of president of Mexico, we'll call her sort of because she doesn't actually control Mexico. What can you really do about it? Are you going to stop sending us avocados? I mean, some people in the cities will be very put out. But I think we all can agree that the recent crop of avocados have not really been worth us caring about losing because they've been garbage. Your avocados have been garbage recently, Mexico. I'm sorry to say that, but it's just true. Yes, you make vehicles down there so you can steal American jobs. But what exactly do we need Mexico for? Anyone? Anyone? I mean, hey, we already have Taco Bell. We got Tex-Mex. And Tex-Mex is absolutely way better than any food in Mexico. So what exactly do we need Mexico for? We like going there to Cancun to get some cheap vacations in. But hey, there's other places to go to. The United States absolutely can just invade Mexico, especially in the cartel-controlled areas, and the Mexican government really can't do anything about it. They really can't. And we're in a situation where we've invaded how many countries in the past 30, 40 years? And we keep invading them so very far away. We invade countries that have nothing to do with the United States, right? Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. Why in the world are we invading Syria? Oh, because there's U.S. interests at stake. Now, of all the countries in the world where the United States has absolute interest in is Mexico. And when you have a government that, with the full support of the United States military, we have been giving them handouts and money and support for generations, and yet they still can't seem to actually control the country that they supposedly govern. They are incapable of fighting the cartels. The cartels fight them to a standstill. They can't stand up to these cartels because they just get assassinated. They can't fight against them because the military forces are so riddled with cartel members. The Mexican army is just incapable of doing this. At some point, I'm going to have to say this. Invading Mexico would be the only foreign policy war that we could do that would actually make any sense whatsoever. If we're going to invade any country in the world, it should absolutely be Mexico. Maybe Canada, but Canada isn't messing with the United States, really. But what happens in Mexico, the fact that they have ungoverned spaces in Mexico right up against the Mexican-U.S. border is absolutely a threat to the United States national security. How many border agents have been attacked? How many border areas have been overrun? What kind of atrocities are happening within sight of the border? A lot. And it's scary. The United States hasn't finished the border wall yet. We're rapidly working towards doing that. But as of now, the border wall isn't finished, and we have these ungoverned spaces where cartels are basically the government. There's just a video that was released recently where local villagers were petitioning a local warlord or a cartel to come in and take care of a local thug that was abusing and kidnapping and disappearing people. And they appealed not to the government to fix things, but they appealed to a cartel. And that is just really, really telling. That when the local people have more faith in the power and the morality of a cartel than they do of the local government, it is scary. So this directive, which was apparently signed in secret on Friday by President Trump, authorizing the U.S. Department of Defense to conduct direct military operations against certain Latin American drug cartels that have already been designated as foreign terrorist organizations. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, of course, firmly rejecting this. But President Trump is shifting to let's meddle over in Asia with, hey, let's get our house in order. Let's deal with the countries directly that are directly impacting not U.S. interests abroad, whatever that means. Does that mean oil? It generally means oil. But the United States is security is absolutely directly impacted by what happens on the U.S. border and what comes across the U.S. border to us. Mexican officials claim that they have had no advance warning of Trump's directive. However, Sheinbaum said U.S. counterparts had hinted that they would deploy U.S. forces for capture-kill missions, maritime interdictions, and cross-border special operations force raids against high-value cartel targets. So we're basically going to spend our special operations in and start taking apart these cartels, whether the Mexican government allows us to or not. Once again, what are they going to be able to do about it? When we go after the heads of these cartels, we can hopefully collapse the cartels themselves and make them go into hiding. Trump's new directive signals a hardened approach to ending the fentanyl crisis, mainly driven by foreign terrorist organizations in Mexico supplied with precursor chemicals from China. So China is intentionally sending the precursors or the ingredients to fentanyl. Previously, they were just shipping fentanyl to Mexico and Canada in order to smuggle it into the United States and shipping it directly into the United States. But then that became illegal. So what they did was they're like, okay, well, we'll send you the components and you can put it together yourself. And so that's what's been happening. They've been shipping massive quantities of the ingredients to fentanyl to these Mexico border regions where the cartels have been cooking fentanyl and then bringing it across the U.S. border. These drugs have claimed the lives of more than 100,000 Americans each year. Of course, but the politicians are concerned about Syria, where maybe a couple Americans are killed every year, maybe. And of course, those Americans got on a plane and went to Syria. I'm not saying, having been almost to Syria, you understand the risks that you take, right? But Americans inside of America, by the hundreds of thousands being killed by cartels and their actions, isn't that a core? Now, I'm not necessarily saying we should invade and occupy Mexico, but sending on our special forces to decapitate these organizations, to go after the heads of these organizations, special operations raids into the area, take out these guys, and then to pull back, where we're basically just dropping stuff from 50,000 feet onto their heads, and we're taking care of them on the ground, disappearing members, not trying to control territory, not trying to take over villages and towns and cities, but rather just taking out the bad guys. And who are the bad guys? Well, they're the ones with the boomsticks that aren't part of the government. And if we can just weaken those cartels significantly enough so that the Mexican government can at least control the entire territory, that would seem like direct military action that would make sense. Not go in there and bring democracy, but rather go in there and just take out the bad guys. That is something that seems like we're moving towards. But would a full military occupation of all of Mexico and turning into our 51st state make sense? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not in government. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. But this is from the New York Times article. It remains unclear what plans the Pentagon is drawing up for possible action. And the order raises a range of legal questions. It is also unclear what notice the Mexican government had, although Ms. Sheinbaum said the U.S. officials told her and her team that the directive was coming. 3 people familiar with the matter said Mexican officials have been blindsided. Depending on what the United States does, Mexico could pull back its cooperation on issues like security and migration. Those people said they speak on condition of anonymity. Well, Listen, we have the capability of stopping people at the border if we just chose to do so. And if we invaded Mexico and took, a couple hundred meters or a kilometer deep into Mexican territory and just claim that as a buffer zone, I mean, we don't even have to say it's ours. We're just like, we're going to put our military here, and anyone who crosses into this zone is going to be stopped, searched, and lethal force can be used against them. Now, if we went a kilometer into Mexico, we would probably leapfrog and basically capture the entrances to tunnels that cross the border that a lot of these cartels use. The cartels think that they can operate with impunity as long as they're just a few hundred yards into Mexico. Sheinbaum and the Mexican government have effectively been protecting these cartels from the U.S. government and the U.S. military. And that's probably because she's absolutely controlled by the cartels. We don't want to talk about that too much, but that's basically what we're probably seeing. She's afraid of the cartels, and maybe rightfully so. So really, should we be dealing with her as a sovereign government, a representative of a government of a sovereign country, or should we view her as a hostage that's being told what to say? And I think that the latter is actually probably more true. Now, if you go in there and take out a bunch of these cartel members and these cartel heads, you may see a very different Mexico emerging. Because, quite frankly, the people of Mexico are fed up with this. They're absolutely livid at the fact that they have to live under these cartels, that the Mexican government, even when it has control, is so riddled with cartel members and corruption that they can't trust the local police forces. The local police forces are as likely to break the law as the cartel members. What do you do then? This is the situation that they've been living under for generations, and all the while they're living so close to the United States that where things supposedly are different, where we are not ruled by cartels, we're ruled by pharmaceutical companies and banking organizations. I mean, this is, it is preferable for the ordinary average American over the ordinary average Mexican. And so they kind of envy what we have. Now, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have the banking and pharmaceutical companies running the U.S. government. But, there are varying degrees of evilness and tyranny and oppression. And we have to look across the border down to Mexico and see that their tyranny is worse. It definitely is worse. And if we can help them to upgrade from cartel and corrupt government to just corrupt government, that would benefit them and would also benefit the United States of America. All right, friends, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. What would you support? What would you not support? And all the absurdity that's going on. What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know down in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.